Oh, hello. My name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So it is time for my April haul. I am doing this a little earlier in the month than I normally would, but just with some travel that I'm doing, this just kind of made the most sense. And yeah, I actually have a pretty manageable number of books here to go through with you, but I do also have an update on my low buy situation. So we'll wait until the end to talk about that. Also, I am going to book club tonight, so I will be getting a book when I'm there for our next book club. So I may insert some footage of that as well. But with those disclaimers out of the way, I think I'll start with a couple of books I bought because I had already read them, but wanted them in physical form. Then we'll go to new books in physical form that I've not yet read, and then we'll end up with some of my collections. So 2 books that I got because I enjoyed them in e-form and decided I wanted a physical copy. The first one is All Systems Red by Martha Wells. Now my copy arrived banged up, so I think I'm gonna see what I can do about getting that rectified. But I really love this and I'm gonna keep reading in this series, and looking at the pricing on the ebooks, I decided that this is a series that makes more sense for me to collect in physical form. Plus I feel like Tor does a nice job with these small books. I like the way that this, what's it called? Shauna Maguire's Wayward Children series. I think those covers are really nice and go well together. So we'll have that for Martha Wells's Murderbot Diaries series, so I'm excited for that. And then I also got DREYER'S English by Benjamin Dreyer. So Benjamin Dreyer is the head of copy editing at, I think, Random House, right? Yeah, Random House. And this is his version of like Strunk and White or How to Write a Sentence, like his kind of grammatical guide. And I just found it to be really, it had a lot of very practical, like its approach to copy editing or like English is very practical, which I appreciated. I liked his tone, and I'm somebody who really likes books about writing or about books. And I just decided I wanted to have this as a part of that collection that I already have. So recommended, and glad to have it as a reference on my shelves. Okay, getting into a couple that I have not yet read, but were logical to get in terms of either collecting or for a challenge I was doing. The first is I got, as per earlier conversation, Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. This is number 2 in the Murderbot Diaries, so I hopefully will get a chance to read this pretty soon. And yeah, we'll just go from there. Once I decide that I like the second one, we'll see if I keep going with the third. Also, I decided to go ahead and get a copy of Space Opera. I am reading this as a part of my Goodreads Friends Pick My TBR challenge that I'm doing. And I was looking at getting this from the library, and when I was doing that, I realized that the hardback I think was like $10 or $11, and I was like, you know what? It's worth it to just go ahead and grab it at that price. I was ordering something else, so went ahead and picked this up, and I should be reading this in April, so hopefully it will not be TBR for very long. Oh yeah, and one category I didn't mention is a book from a publisher. So the folks at Read Bliss sent me One Summer in Paris by Sarah Morgan. So yeah, I'm excited to maybe get to this eventually. It is women's fiction, which is not usually my jam, but I really do like Sarah Morgan's writing as a contemporary romance author. So I don't know, I think like when I'm in the mood for something light, maybe over the summer, I might dip into this one. Okay, and then 3 books that I basically stress bought, and all 3 of these are thrillers of some kind. Let's start with The Last by Hanna Jameson. So this is a murder mystery that has an isolated house trope, which you guys know is my favorite. Can you hear the train? Side note, one of the fun things about my new house is that I'm even closer to the train that runs through my neighborhood of Nashville. And it doesn't bother me, but occasionally people who I'm on the phone with or whatever will comment of like, girl, are you like on the train? And I'm not. Like, I'm still like a smooth like half mile away from it, but it's just loud. So sorry if you can hear that. Johnny Cash style, I hear the train a-coming. It is rumbling around the bend. Okay, sorry. Tangent. Back to The Last. So Hanna Jameson. The Last is an isolated country house mystery, which is like my jam. This one has the twist of being set after a nuclear holocaust, and some of the survivors of the nuclear holocaust have holed up together in an abandoned Swiss hotel, and then people start getting murdered. So basically written for me. I'm really excited about this. I hope it lives up to my expectations because premise-wise, firing on all cylinders. So I saw that and I was like, That needs to be mine. Then I went ahead and got Killing November because by Adriana Mather. I got this because I was looking at the situation at the library and it looked like they were not going to be getting this in e-form. So I decided if I was going to have to read it in physical form, I might as well just own my own copy. And this is like Assassin School, basically. It's like a YA thriller with Assassin School, maybe a little magic, I'm not sure. I think there might be some sort of speculative fiction element. And I'm hoping that this can fill the void in my heart now that I'm done with the Book of the Ancestor series and I don't have Assassin Boarding School to read about. Here's like a contemporary version of it, at least, even if it's not a fantasy version. And then I also got Girls with Sharp Sticks by Suzanne Young. So this is a book I'd seen a lot of hype about, kind of coming up to its release. And then the people who I know who have read it have really loved it. I know Bethany at Beautifully Bookish Bethany, I think she like stayed up late reading it because she couldn't put it down. This is, from what I understand, it's another YA thriller, and the premise is that it's a school where women, or young girls really, are being shaped into the perfect like marriage material for rich dudes. I think it's like feminist AF, and like it's very subversive, and it's like them fighting back against that, I think. So very excited to get to this. I've heard, like I said, nothing but great things, and like premise-wise, this is something I think I would really like. So excited for this. And then finally, moving on to a couple of collections. So I already have a few poetry collections in this Everyman's Library Pocket Poetry edition, but I've decided that it's one of my new collections that I'm going to work on. So I've got a number of volumes in that series that I'm excited to get to. So the first one is The Four Seasons, and this is like an edited collection of poems that are seasonally appropriate. And I really love that idea. I was in the, like, I saw this and I was like, oh, I could do with some spring poem reading, even though we're basically getting no spring this year. Guys, it's a problem. All that to say, I am happy to have this, and I should probably, before summer already, which is already pretty much here, before it fully takes over, I should read some spring poems. And then I also got Donne's collection, or Donne's collection rather. John Donne has a few poems that are really significant to me and that I really, really love. And I can't say that I'm an expert on all of his poetry, but what I know of it I really enjoy. So I went ahead and grabbed this because it was on a price reduction. You guys know I'm a sucker for a price reduction. And then finally, a couple of last ones in my collection. So first I have the Greek Coffin Mystery by Ellery Queen in the Penguin Drop Caps edition. I always want to say drop case, but it is drop caps. I struggle with that. But first of all, I love how whimsical the cover is, because if you don't know, Ellery Queen is like a classic of kind of golden age detective fiction in America. But so I love that it's like a spyglass, or like a magnifying glass. That's so cute to do the Q. And I've actually never read anything from Ellery Queen, so I was like, hey, if this is the one that they like enough to put into this collection, this might be a good place to start with him. I believe it's a writing team, but it's a him. I actually think Ellery Queen is the name of the detective in this, and it's like written as if it was in first person. I'm not totally sure. But anyway, like I said, never read any Ellery Queen, so this will be my first. And it'll go up here with my other drop caps editions. And then finally, the coup de grace. Dubliners by James Joyce. I got this in the red spined Everyman's Library edition, and I got this because James Joyce is somebody who I've had very mixed success with, but bar none, my favorite thing from James Joyce is Dubliners. Like, this collection of short stories is amazing. The Dead is my favorite thing he ever did. Eventually I'm going to get The Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man in that drop caps edition. I think that's going to be the last one I'm going to get, and that's for a specific reason, which we will get to when we cross that bridge. But James Joyce, glad to have this particular one. And last but not least, I wanted to briefly touch on my low buy. So when I first initially kind of went on my low buy, it has been running for January, February, March, and April for the most part. I initially had thought I would probably do that through June-ish, and I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and call an end to my low buy. I mean, I'm keeping in mind that I'm trying not to acquire too many books, and I'm doing that for two reasons. One, I was looking at how I had done with it so far, and actually I've been really, like, in terms of moving things out of my physical TBR, I've been accomplishing that goal. Like, so to date, for the first 4 months of 2019, I netted out a negative number of books in my collection. So I have fewer books on my TBR right now than I did at the beginning of the year. I think I'm down 8. So in terms of like kind of getting myself back in the mindset of reading what I have. I think I've been doing that, and based on how I've been doing some of my planning for the next few months at least, I think I will continue to do that. So I think I met that goal. And then the second reason is the other part of what I wanted to do, because I wanted to focus on books I already had, and then I also wanted to really engage with like buying books as a kind of coping mechanism for some grief and loss that I've had in my life, and kind of wanting to bring awareness to that and kind of tamp that down as a coping mechanism. But there's been some things happening in my life that, to be honest, I just like, I'm not going to go into right now, but I have been dealing with those in a way that's not as healthy as I would like it to be. And I think that book buying as a mechanism, like a coping mechanism, is a much healthier kind of avenue for dealing with things than other things I've been doing. I'm sorry, that's so vague, but basically just saying like, I don't think I'm past the point where I need that as a coping mechanism, just based on some stressors and some things that are happening in my life right now. So like, don't worry about me. Everything's going to be fine. It's just that, you know, I'm less than a year out from my dad dying, and like other things are going on, and everything's going to be fine. I just don't think, like, I was talking about this with my therapist, and she was like, you know, everybody has coping mechanisms. Like, that is a part of being a healthy human, is to have coping mechanisms. And if you found something that is not impacting your health negatively, and it's not something that is outside of your means, she was like, I think buying books is maybe like one of the healthiest coping mechanisms I could imagine for you. So like, she's like, it's good that you have some awareness that that's what you're doing. Like, that's great. That doesn't necessarily mean you don't need that right now. And I was like, you know what, I really appreciate that. It was like some good feedback. So I wanted to tell you that I was doing that because I do think people do like low buys, or like, there's a big, I think especially because of Marie Kondo or whatever, there's a big sort of like minimalism push right now in social media and stuff, which I think is great. But I also want to, like, since I had a video talking publicly about why I was doing that, I also wanted to publicly let you know why I stopped doing that, and just to like remind us that we can and can't do things at different points in our lives. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a time for everything, much like Ecclesiastes. There's a time to laugh, there's a time to cry, there's a time to low buy, and there's a time to not worry about it. And I think the conclusion I've reached is that right now is a time to not worry about it. So, I'm not saying that next month I'm gonna go ham, though, considering that I'm going to London and they have so many great bookshops and all of those UK editions are so much prettier than ours. I might. I'm taking a suitcase big enough that I can go ham. But I'm not saying that I'm just going to go hog wild. I'm just not going to necessarily consciously try to keep myself on a low buy. So I don't know if you cared about that, but I just thought I'd give an update. And I think that will do it for this haul. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. And I think that will do it. Hope you're having a really great day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.